first item on the agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment?
Have you considered what the impact of the new housing proposal will have on the fire department and what your needs are going to be for the future?
Well, we're going to hear about it tonight.
Well, I mean, you know what, they want to build 120 homes.
Well, I don't, so the answer is I'm looking forward to hearing the details this evening. Presumably that is why they're coming. That is one of the reasons they're coming here to give us a presentation. I should state that they're at the QPOP meeting now, so if we don't get to, if we reach that point in the agenda and they're still at QPOP and not here yet, we'll pass that item until the.
But you don't have any thoughts or ideas of how it's going to impact the fire department?
Not at this time, not until.
Personally, as the chairman of the fire commission, and other commissions may have other thoughts, but personally, I'm withholding judgment until I hear the presentation. But, Chief may have.
Because I just know I went to the police commission and their presentation was not specific to the police department. And the police department had no idea how it was going to impact them because they'd have to do the study, which won't be done until after the vote. And I was just wondering if that's still the case with the fire department too.
We haven't been consulted, the fire department, we haven't been consulted on what exactly is going on, where it's exactly going. 2-story, 1-story. You probably know more than I know.
So they're coming here to give us a presentation.
But there's been no formal talk about what the fire department's going to need compared to what they're looking to build. So we have no formal proposal.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you had for every so many houses you need X amount of things. I don't know if that isn't, there's like a rule of thumb that goes.
There's not a rule of thumb. It depends on the development. It depends on how close everything is. Depends on hydrants, water. So there's a lot of variables that go into it.
So you need to know if they're going to put in hydrants and which side where and all that.
Right.
Now, when they make their presentation tonight, do you think you'll have that information before the referendum?
I could not answer that because this is the first time I'm actually going to hear what the presentation is.
Yeah, because I'm having a hard time knowing what the impact of this development will have on all the various commissions. And we need to know what the impact's going to be before we can have an educated vote on the referendum. And that's my concern. That's why I'm here tonight.
Well, presumably that's why they're coming here. They ask.
You're right, but she's asking specifically, and we don't have specifics. We have the numbers and look at turn radiuses and everything else that are associated with the development. I can't, even after the presentation tonight, I probably don't have enough information to tell you what the fire department's needs are going to be after listening to, I don't know, I think it's only a 15-minute presentation.
Right, you're not going to get the information.
Yeah, I'm not going to know.
They're not going to know what hydrants are.
Yeah, so we're not going to have that information. By the town referendum, I think did they vote on the referendum tonight? I think it's sometime in November. No, they didn't. So.
No, it's been scheduled.
Or a town meeting? Was it a town meeting, Joe?
There was a town meeting.
There's some more information that they need in regards to the developers.
Okay. So, yeah.
We have tentative dates, Sean, we have tentative dates for a special town meeting and or public hearing in November and a referendum in December.
Okay.
And also the registrar was advised of those dates.
Yeah.
But,
Those may be delayed.
as Allison is the deputy registrar.
Yeah.
But whether, I don't,
It's
I don't-
December 11th. is
We
the
don't
referendum.
have any information regarding any of the site or anything else, what they're looking to do over at the country club property.
Okay.
So number one, this, as far as we're concerned, this is the beginning of the process where they're coming to us on an informal basis to present their plan. If the plan is approved, they're going to need to go through code review with the fire marshal.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a whole different
But my concern is the cost to the town, in addition to, giving up 60 acres and zoning it. But I need to know, like the police said that they can't even come up with an assessment of how many more people they're gonna have to hire.
Well,
But because they can't do it until they do the
we-
survey after.
we weren't there and we can't speak to what,
No, but I'm just saying, I'm afraid the same thing's happening here too.
so.
That's
The
what-
way I understood it is it's just an informational thing that's going around to each commission. It's not, they're not looking for a blessing from the commissioner of the fire department tonight, or the police department, or any other agency. They're just
No,
looking to get the word out.
I understand, but my concern is that we do not know the total impact and the costs associated with this development until, we won't know that before we vote on it. And that, to me, that's where I have a problem.
We don't.
Right, but that's okay, but that's really the Board of Selectmen level. That's not really at the fire commission,
Okay, so
fire
you-
department level.
So
I
you
can't
don't
really-
know if you have that
Allison,
information, that's all.
we have not heard the presentation yet.
I know, but you guys
Okay.
know basically what's going on. You've seen it, you've gone to the meetings, you've seen that they
So
have
we
5
have not-
house plans.
Allison,
Story.
this is public comment, okay?
Right.
We typically allow the public comment and that's it. We've engaged in a colloquy out of a courtesy to you, but we don't need
See, I'm a
to,
resident, I pay a lot of
we
taxes
don't, it's not question time in Parliament, okay? We don't need to go
I'm
back
I'm
and forth.
just saying, my point.
You don't need to go back and forth anymore. We understand.
Okay, so you're not gonna
you
know
made-
the information before the
You
vote,
made,
is what I'm.
you made, no,
I-
Allison, I said, this is
Julian.
this is the first step in the process. They haven't spoken to us yet, okay? We have, the commissioners that are, and the staff that are here, I expect will have some questions to the developers. And we go from there. I can't, I can't disprove a negative.
Okay, I'm just going by what happened.
Okay, you're done. That's it. Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Aaliyah.
No.
No.
Your comments are over. Thank you. Thank you.
It's too bad.
Is there any other public comment? Okay. Next item on the agenda is liaison comments. We have 3 liaisons here. Nate is our Fire Association liaison. Do you have any comment?
Well, thank you.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Mr. Crisco from the Board of Selectmen. And are you a liaison now?
I'm Board of Finance.
Well, welcome.
I think that's what I was before, I don't remember.
You were in the past, and you're back.
I have no report.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the presentation by Insite Development. We're under construction regarding the Country Club of Woodbridge proposal. They are not here yet. They are at, as I mentioned earlier, at the Commission on
The use.
the use of public, QPOP, the Commission on the Use of Publicly Owned Properties. And because we changed the meeting time, we understood that they may get tied up there, and we will sort of defer that agenda item until they arrive. Technically, the changing of the order on the agenda requires a vote of the commissioner, so I would entertain a motion to defer agenda item number 4 until the presenters arrive.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Next item on the agenda is the election of officers, which is typically done at the first meeting after the new board members are sworn in, after the term start in July. We lacked a full complement of commissioners at the prior meetings, so we elected to defer that until this evening. We still only have 3 commissioners, but I don't think we should put that off any longer. And so I would entertain nominations for chairman, vice chairman, and secretary. Our current secretary, Mr. Sufreen, is not here this evening. He called and canceled a few minutes ago. But I have not heard from him any disinterest in continuing to serve. So I would entertain nominations for the floor for officers.
Ask a question. Who's the current vice chair?
Mr. Horton.
Well, then I would like to nominate the slate of current officers to continue in that capacity, if they are willing to accept.
So that would be myself as chairman, Mr. Horton as vice chairman, and Mr. Sufreen, Michael Sufreen as secretary. Is there a second? Are you willing to continue?
Second.
All right, so those nominations having been made and seconded, are there any other nominations from the floor for officers? If there are, we would vote on them one at a time, but hearing none, then we will vote it as a slate. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No, that's unanimous. Thank you. Look forward to continuing to serve. Next item on the agenda is the review of current financial statements. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Hi. Thank
Anybody else?
Okay, so as we go, we're actually pretty good right now on the budget. The lines that we're going to launch over the next few months are going to be repair and maintenance machine like we always do, because that line seems to run over quite a bit, so we'll keep an eye on that. We'll probably know more information, a better lay on that probably sometime in January. Regards to the other lines seem to look okay right now, so we'll keep an eye on it. The other line we're going to have to watch this year is hydrants. We had a couple of repairs we had to do for hydrants, plus once we pay the water bill, that's really out of our control, that's up to RWA. And we're just going to keep an eye on that one because we may run short at the end of the year for that line.
Sean, is the year-to-date expended? Is that the repairs?
The year-to-date, on which one?
On the hydrants?
No, the hydrants, what we did is we pulled a blanket PO for, so if you look at the encumbered amount, it's $76,831, and then the available is $1163, but we had some bills that came in today for some hydrant stuff that have to go against that line. So that line is almost zeroed out right now.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about the year-to-date, the expended, the 10,000.
Yeah, that year-to-date is, we had a hydrant for $6,000 we had to fix and
Okay,
replace.
those repairs.
Yep.
Which is, okay. But the 76,000 encumbered is the,
That's basically the water bill
The
for
annual
the
bill.
entire year.
For the-
Right. So $10,000, but just to put it in perspective, that's basically like a hydrant and a half. So we had one hydrant that we had to replace it with, I believe it was $6,300. So hydrants aren't cheap to replace when we have to do them. So if we have to replace multiple hydrants, that number could rise pretty quick. We'll keep an eye on that though.
okay. Commissioners have any questions on the financial statements?
I just want to ask about professional development. We might have talked about that. It's the
Which one?
second category, that's 111.7
One,
is the percent used.
Aaron, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
111.7.
Professional development, second category, it was $2,800.
right, so that is actually our DTN, our weather satellite. So we usually go over that by basically, around $300 or whatever. Come the end of the year, we'll do a line item transfer for $328 and cover it in another line somewhere.
Okay, so there's no other expenditures under that category?
No.
And would you say it's a weather satellite?
The weather satellite system we're hooked into.
Why it's categorized as professional development,
Well,
can't
there's
explain
more
it.
to its professional development, and it gets cut off, but there's
Oh.
more.
Okay.
the line has a longer.
The line has a longer thing to it. And this one, we don't know yet.
Any other questions about the budget? About financial statements?
The other one we're gonna know that's gonna go over is overtime clerical. That one's gonna continue to go over. There was zero money into the budget for that. That is basically Tina's job. It's exactly what that is. So right now, we've expended over $500, and I expect that number to go up because just with the fire cards alone, to recreate every call is quite a bit of time. And we need to get caught up, and we're nowhere near where we need to be caught up wise.
So, Sean, that's the quality control and correction of the fire cars after they come over from the police department?
That's not the quality control. That is strictly just getting the information and getting it correct into the computer. And there's a separate quality control piece that the assistant chief does.
Okay. And why does the information need to be corrected?
The times that are coming over through the CAD system are wrong, so we'd have to go back and listen to the voice logging recorder and make the corrections from the voice logging recorder onto the actual fire card itself that goes into the computer that has to get submitted up to the state.
And so the synchronized clock that we bought last year, the year before, hasn't solved that problem?
The synchronized clock, all it does is when we go back and we review the voice logging recorder and get the actual times off of that, that is synchronized to everybody's time, so at least we're pulling off the same clock as dispatches.
Okay, because before that, the times were off by several minutes at least.
Before the clock times were off by almost 18 minutes.
Okay. So we solved that problem, but what's the source of the inaccuracy now?
We're having, it's most likely a training issue that we have to correct, that when the call comes in, the call gets dispatched along with when the units sign on and sign on location and clear. The button over at the dispatch has to be pushed at that time, otherwise if they wait a few minutes, it increases our call response time, which is bad when we go to submit and run times and numbers, where our average response time should be right around 7.5 to 8 minutes. Our response time could be 12 to 13 minutes long.
Because of the delay from when the call comes in to the dispatch?
There's
or when the call
multiple-
comes
there's
in
more-
to the pressing of the button?
There's
to log the
multiple,
dispatch?
there's multiple issues on the side of dispatch reporting for Firehouse. Next gen.
And then looping back, Tina is checking every call.
Every single call, we have
To
the
make sure
audio,
that-
we have an audio log, which is a variant recorder. We have to go back and listen to the entire call and grab the times when the units sign on and sign on location and change the times in Firehouse so it has an accurate time in dispatch.
Which takes time, hence the overtime.
It takes right now, we should be averaging roughly 10 minutes after a call. And right now, we're averaging on the area of about 45 minutes, depending on the call, per call. So that's the added time. So instead of doing 6, 7 cards an hour, we're doing 1.25 an hour. And it's very tedious to listen to the whole transmission, get the times, and then go back in and figure out where the numbers have to go. So you have to look at multiple screens and listen at the same time. So it gets very tedious and it's a long process.
Was this 500 incurred in a month or over the 4 months? Or
Right now, this is from July 1 over, but we've been focusing on some other things, and we just started really focusing on the fire cards, and this is probably within the last month or two.
Okay, so
And
fair to say.
that number is going to go up. We know it's going to go up.
It is necessary for accurate reporting to the state.
So,
Right.
yeah, so if we don't have good accurate reporting or our numbers are way off, it could affect grants for the town, it could affect grants for the fire department, it affects our overall response time, which is inaccurate because if we have a 7.5-minute response time and we're showing a 12 or 13-minute response time, the residents or the state comes in and wants to know what the issue is, why we're taking so long to get to the call. We're actually not, so that's why it's important to have the accurate times. And when we submit them, we have our average response time.
Yeah.
And you measure response time from when we are dispatched to when we arrive?
From the time of dispatch that we are dispatched to the time the first unit arrives on scene is, that's the type of response time that we're looking for.
Okay. But the time from the 911 call can be much longer.
Right, so if they're answering 911 and it takes them 3 minutes to process a call, right now, the way it's working now, we're getting that 3 minutes added on to our initial dispatch time. So instead of the first truck rolls out of the fire department in 5 minutes or less, but always in 5 minutes the first truck will roll, whether it's got a crew or not. What's happening now is if we have 3 minutes, it takes us 3 minutes to process the call. The first truck
Takes, not us,
takes
dispatch.
from the time of dispatch to the first truck rolling out, if it takes dispatch to process 911 for 3 minutes, the first truck's rolling out per our times in 8 minutes, not 5 minutes. And then you have an additional couple minutes to get to where you're going in town. So you could be looking at a 12-minute response easy. That's why it's important that time of dispatch and time the units arrive on scene and the time the units clear, those are all important numbers that we need for accurate reporting to the state and for us.
So there's two different issues. One is that the homeowner, the citizens making the call, is still waiting that extended period of time.
Correct. So when you
But the
call
fire department response measured from the time of our dispatch to the time arriving at the scene.
right now it does, correct.
Okay. It's within.
As soon as 911 is picked up, our clock right now is beginning at that time. It's not beginning at the time of initial dispatch, where it should.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that has a significant impact on the ISO rating, which directly impacts what people's insurance rates are.
Right, so we just went through an ISO rating a few months ago. We brought it up, I think, at the last meeting, or the meeting before,
The
talking about the
insurance
insurance.
rating?
Yep. So it also looks at response. So if we show a response time of 12 or 13 minutes, that could hurt our overall rating for the town, and that means your insurance rate could go up, depending on how everything else in the ISO report shakes out. Or the whole thing is bad. It's not good with the way the times are right now.
Well, we know that the volunteers and the officers work very diligently to respond promptly and to roll that first piece of apparatus within 5 minutes of the call and arrive on scene roughly within 8 minutes of the call whenever possible. And so for that time to be artificially extended is just wrong. So we appreciate the effort to make our records accurate.
Yes, but you got
It's
to realize.
unfortunate that we have to do that.
Right, but you need to realize that it's a boatload of work and other things sacrificed because of it, but if we don't do it, it throws a major monkey wrench into our whole operation.
Right.
So we shouldn't be spending 45 minutes to process a call and type a call in. We should be doing it a lot less than that. And we're having a major issue with it right now. can't move forward on it. We've had meetings with the first selectman about it, we've had meetings with multiple people in town about it, and we're at the point where we don't really know what to do. I know Karen from the Fire Commission is going to, along with me, to the Board of Selectmen meetings and asked to be put on the agenda to discuss dispatch issues, and this is one of the issues. So right now, we're just, we're trying to hold our own here and this and that, but it's gonna come at a price, and if we continue going the way we're going, we're gonna need to probably hire a part-time person to come in and start at least assisting with fire parts so we can continue doing what we need to do.
Do all the other work, yeah.
All the other work that's required.
All right, and any other questions on financial statements? Okay. We've covered it. And I see that, the agenda, the Insite Development and Warner Construction people appear to be in the back of the room.
Yeah.
So we had passed your item, Charlie, because we knew you were otherwise occupied, but we're ready for you now, if you are.
Excellent. So what's the, should I do it up at the presentation board, or what's easier for you?
Why don't you ask Sean?
Yeah, sorry.
I think right here, probably, if you want to pull some chairs up, right? Right in presentation.
Well, I think the question is, do you have material and?
We do, we have handouts for the board.
To be on.
Okay, so basically the presentation that we normally do over the projector is in front of you. That's, you know, all the slideshows there. Just want to say thank you for having us here. Obviously, it's our goal to meet with all the different boards and talk about issues that pertain to their particular commission. So in other words, so my name is Brian St. Pierre. I'm the owner of Insite Development. With me today is Evan Burschel, and he is from Warner Construction, representing them, and also Justin Burke from my office at Insite. So again, thank you for having us. Obviously, this is a presentation on the property, the former property of Woodbridge Country Club. We are offering to, or proposing to purchase roughly 60 acres of that piece of property, which is currently roughly 160 acres, to construct a 55 and older community, maximum of 120 homes, single level, as I mentioned, 55 and older community. Part of our proposal is not only the purchase and the construction of this, but also some public benefits. Obviously, we have the development itself. Included in that proposal is the clubhouse for the 55 and older community. That's going to house a pool, tennis courts, and meeting spaces for the actual 55 and older community itself. For location purposes, it's where the existing tennis courts are currently now. That's where we're planning to situate the new clubhouse for them, and utilize the clubhouse or the tennis courts that are there. Also included in our proposal is to address the issues at the existing clubhouse itself, the golf clubhouse that's there now and pool. We plan to renovate the existing pool and remove the existing golf course clubhouse and replace it with a snack bar, pool house, so to speak, with locker rooms and you know, changing areas.
If you don't mind me interrupting.
No, that's okay.
Where would that be on that drawing?
Yeah, so that's the existing pool that's there now, the existing clubhouse pool that was open to the town residents. We are demolishing the current structure that's there, the big clubhouse, and putting back a small pool house and bathhouse for the or snack bar.
What's that? That's for the 55 and over?
That's for the town residents. So that pool is then opened back up to the town residents.
Two separate clubhouses.
Exactly.
What's the reason for that? curiosity.
Yeah, well, obviously, the 55 and older community is going to need their own clubhouse, not only for, sales office, but obviously meeting spaces. And then opening up the town pool was, giving back to the town. I mean, I know, as a young family, I know it's something that we used and would use. I live here in Woodbridge, so it's
So you're gonna have 2 pools on the property?
2 pools on the property. Correct. So again, lost my train of thought there, but basically, what we tried to do with this particular thing, and I'll try and focus things on fire issues, but we'll have 2 entrances to this property. One will be on Ansonia Road, which runs east-west here, and also the main entrance will be on Woodfield Road. Obviously, accessible for all fire apparatuses and, built to code and things like that. But mainly, we really wanted to fit this property, or these homes into the property itself, rather than get in there and clear cut everything and make the property work for us. So, what am I missing, Justin?
Do we have that picture, the one in the middle in our package?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This one's backwards. This one's backwards.
It was the same one.
That's the older version of these 2 maps. So this is obviously the aerial of the whole property. That's a blown up version of the development itself turned on
But we don't have the one you just flipped around?
the one you do not have the one that we
That's the
just
one that
flipped
showed
around.
all of Ansonia Road, so I.
Gotcha.
Can you have that around?
But yeah, we can.
And why was that not feasible to enter on the Ansonia Road?
We are entering on Ansonia Road. So there's going to be one main entrance on Ansonia. I know I cut it off here, but this gray line is Ansonia Road.
You can see it.
Oh, okay.
So there'll be one exit there,
Gotcha.
and then one exit onto Woodfield itself.
Configuration.
Exactly. That's an older version of the layout. Once we started reconfiguring and trying to make
I'm
it.
just wondering where on Ansonia the entrance is going to be.
So that'll all be determined by the state traffic study. That's something that we will need to get in order
It looks
to
like
even
it's in the
proceed.
vicinity of Rimmon?
Yeah, looks like it's right across.
Is that Rimmon or is that Park?
No, that's
What's the one that's on a 45?
Both, right, it's both.
Rimmon? Okay.
That's right.
Oh, that's right.
In the vicinity, but again, to answer your question, if it needs to be moved, 100 feet one way or the other to conform with the traffic study, but just for purposes of.
Okay. You can flip that around. Now I'm oriented.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
But yeah, again, in terms of the homes themselves, we plan to do roughly 5 different models for the properties. They'll all be customizable, both inside and out. All the homes will be energy efficient and maintenance free, to the extent that we can. Single level with an option for a loft, but all detached homes and, as I mentioned, single level.
About 2,000 to 2,500 square feet.
Yeah.
So the windows above the garage in that picture?
Yeah, that one of those will
The
be.
optional loft?
It's an optional loft, or playroom, so to speak, but not an additional bedroom, just as recreational space. So again, obviously I can answer any questions that you guys have about the homes or the property itself, but just some of the benefits. Obviously, we have a $4.2 million debt on the property now. This would eliminate that debt with I never said it. $5.4 million cash to closing is our offer. So not only does it eliminate the 4.2, but it gives the town an additional 1.2 in additional revenue. Tax benefits, obviously, we've gone through that, I believe, in depth, but obviously, we're looking to generate roughly $1.7 million in additional tax revenue on these homes.
And these are, these 2-bedroom units?
Two bedroom with an option for a loft or
Okay.
can convert it into a 3. But yeah, as a 55 and older, I mean, obviously with no kids living there, it's normally just a couple that live in there.
Do you have a schematic, or do you have an idea of what will be visible from Ansonia Road, or Woodfield Road, or Johnson?
We are actually working on a visual, a rendering from Ansonia, which we plan to have for the town meeting in November. So we're still working on it. It's something that we plan on putting together. Woodfield Road, I don't have anything of that, but as I mentioned, we've painstakingly, tried to fit this into the landscape, and we believe we've taken the most inconspicuous spot of the property. Obviously, the piece on Johnson and Ansonia here is the most visible. That's where you see most of the property, and we got a very heavy buffer on Ansonia Road looking back up, towards the development there. But we are working on one to answer your question.
Can't be as easy as this.
It's not, but it's a project that we definitely are willing to undertake. As I mentioned, I live in the town and I don't plan on going anywhere.
You still live here?
I still live here. Still live here.
Are you planning on putting in hydrants?
Yes. So because it is city water and city sewer, we plan to put in hydrants for the development itself.
I mean, we'll probably have a bunch of questions once you have more of a thing. I mean,
Sure.
Get closer to the building.
yeah.
Absolutely, and we obviously know we're, not only are we gonna have to conform to all the codes, but any input from the fire commission is welcome. I mean, there might be things that we're overlooking.
I'm just wondering how close to this plan the development will ultimately be.
Pretty close. I mean, we've walked this property, several times. Not only all together, but me by myself. Actually picking. Obviously, we're working off a Google map, but picking out actual trees and where the tee boxes are, and trying to lay this out. And this isn't just thrown together. We believe it's pretty good.
Show them how it started, and then it's the transformation.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously this was a really quick attempt, to get the development in. This was the painstaking, and you can see how different it is. It's moved off the rocks that are the forest and the rocks that are currently as the buffer between Woodfield now. So yeah,
So it's like the city sewer, city water,
and hopefully natural gas.
Natural gas.
Yep.
So underground
gas
power
lines?
lines?
Underground power. I'm
They're
sorry.
gonna run gas lines there,
Yes. Yep.
because they don't have them.
It's in the street close by, the current gas. So we've already talked with the gas company, and they obviously same answer as a lot of people come to us when it's time, but they see no reason why they wouldn't bring in for 120 homes the natural gas.
Where's that line? Is that Ansonia?
It's probably down New Haven.
It's out Fountain just a little bit, within a quarter of a mile. I think it is.
Comes up Fountain Street.
It comes up Fountain Street, and then I think it turns to go to the school. That's kind of where it diverts off to go to Beecher.
Okay.
Do you have any estimates of additional town services, particularly fire that might, fire
Sure,
services
that's all going to be part of the study from the from the state of Connecticut, along with the traffic. In their study, they do estimated impact on emergency services, and obviously police, because they have to.
I'll tell you, because we've been asked.
Oh, yeah.
We've been asked the question.
Absolutely.
And we don't have the answer. This is the first time we're hearing from you. So
Definitely, and it's an excellent question. Unfortunately, it's just a little too early to have that answer because the traffic study really needs to be done. Like I said, we don't know if there's going to be a light that needs to be added or so on and so forth. But in that package that they provide us, they estimate town services.
I mean, I know we're gonna have questions about turn radiuses, just looking at that.
Sure.
Make sure trucks can get around, width of the road, and hydrant locations. Are any of these homes gonna be sprinkler?
It will be an option. It did come up in one of one of the Board of Selectmen meetings, and we plan to have that as an option. We're not going to install them as, you know, because it's obviously not code that we would need them, but it would be an option that they can add. for
The
themselves.
fire alarms, everybody's gonna have a separate fire
Sure,
alarm.
absolutely, fire alarms, you know, smokes, all that good stuff.
How about parking? Is it just limited to this small lot next to the clubhouse, or is there going to be additional guest visitor parking?
Yeah, so every home has not only a two-car garage, but an area to fit two cars as a driveway. We have not planned for additional, I mean, there are spaces that we can fit it, but as of right now, the only parking lot that we have is by the clubhouse itself.
So if I buy one of these and have my family over for Thanksgiving dinner, and I have a big family, where are they gonna park?
Yeah, it would
Where
have
we
to
gonna
be.
put 10
street-
cars,
Yeah,
right?
it'd have to be street parking, sure.
Street parking within the complex?
Within the complex, correct.
I don't think there's much, this is so preliminary. You know?
You guys have any more questions? You have any questions?
Too early for me.
No, you didn't code review, that's,
Yeah, that's down the road.
Yeah, it's way down. We're gonna be good friends.
and the other two guys have anything to say, or they're just here to give you moral support?
No, it's just, you know, just to answer questions from anybody that, you know, that had to do with construction, obviously.
All right, so construction, this is gonna be wooden frame construction,
Wood frame construction.
and
correct.
with, roof trusses.
Depending on the model, obviously, you know, if they're gonna have a loft up above, it'll be, you know, conventional framing.
So now you got 120 homes, or plus or minus, right?
Yeah, there's a maximum of 120.
Would you be building all these at one shot, or is it going in stages?
Phases, yeah, phases.
Yes, phases.
Do you have a total for anticipated construction time?
Yeah, we're projecting 5 years for a total build out, not only the infrastructure, but.
Now, when you start to build out, and maybe this comes later, but the first thing you're gonna do is put the entire road in, so you have access on both sides?
Correct.
And even though you're not building it, it's just the road will be in.
And obviously, we'll have to lay out the lots themselves for potential
Yep.
homeowners to pick which one they actually want.
What happens if you don't sell all the lots?
Obviously, you know, it's a very good question. We could have a recession, but, you know, the point is, we would make this completed to a point. You know, obviously, we wouldn't leave it just vacant and try and fit the homes to look finished. You know, obviously, we would like to build all 120, but, you know, if we don't, you know, we don't.
So you would just build them after they're sold?
Correct. Yeah, so in phase one, we're gonna build 10 model homes first. Obviously, we need homes for the clients to walk through. So we'll build the 10 homes, and then from there, hopefully we have, you know, sales of land that we can build that, you know, because they are customizable. So we're not building all spec.
And do you build like one street at a time, or?
That's the
like a
idea.
Checkerboard?
That's the idea, is that we do one street at a time. Obviously, you know, I might get somebody, if we're building this road, I might get somebody that says they want that house, and the question is, you know, do you have to wait, or do we put that in for you? But hopefully, you know, things obviously will keep going.
I think the model homes initially will be closer to the clubhouse.
Yeah, so the first, yeah, obviously, the clubhouse is gonna go in first, so we need the space for them. And then we'll probably start building, you know, the first 10 closest to the clubhouse itself, and work our way towards Ansonia.
So who's gonna own the road? Is it private?
Private road, yeah, private road, so homeowners association, so they'll maintain it and they're installing it.
Okay.
So they're gonna be condos? So people are they gonna own their lots? They're gonna own?
Yeah, they'll own their individual lots.
And how big are the lots?
We've been estimating from a third to a half an acre. You know, again, it's something that needs to be laid out professionally with the surveyor. There's actually no survey of the property on this piece of land, so.
And I see, it looks like green, golf holes, greens and sand traps, and are you proposing doing anything with the old golf course?
No, so that land, that 100 acres or so will be retained by the town of Woodbridge.
Okay.
So that's something that is retained by them. We have offered to, help with carp path repair and things like that. So while our guys are there, if we can send
Yeah, I don't
somebody
know how
over.
old the aerial photo is, I'm just looking at it.
Yeah, no, that, again, working off of a Google map, this is how it is. But basically from this line over is town-owned property and will retain, be retained by the town of Woodbridge.
And and are you responsible for the demolition of the old building?
Yes.
So that's. On the purchase price, is there anything else that comes off of that?
In terms of,
Well, I mean, I seem to remember years ago, there was a proposal where there was a cash price, but the demolition costs were gonna come off of that. I may be
No,
wrong
no,
about that,
no,
but
this is-
I have some vague memory of that.
no, this is
And
a.
So is
this
there
a
anything
straight-
else? that
No, this is a
I need to
straight
know about?
$5.4 million cash offer. Anything that we decided to do, to help the town out with their land or the demo of the existing.
What about the environment, what about the environmental?
So any environmental that's done, that's on our 60 acres, obviously we'll have to remediate that because we're doing the development.
So you're taking that part as is?
I'm taking this part as is, and we're assuming the responsibility of the clubhouse, the contaminations that's at the clubhouse. Everything else, from my understanding, and please don't quote me, is that, if nothing is done to the rest of the property, they do not need to remediate immediately. I mean, obviously there's remediation that needs to be done, but it doesn't trigger, a remediation on the remaining 100 acres.
So it doesn't trigger it with the work you're doing?
So the work that I'm doing, we would have to remediate anything on the 60 acres.
But
that we're
the other environmental on the other side it wouldn't trigger?
It's our understanding, and I know the town attorney and our attorney are really looking into what triggers it. We actually met with the environmental people last week.
Okay.
And they're saying that basically that won't trigger it.
Okay.
So you're taking care of the remediation when you tear down the clubhouse?
Correct.
Because that's where the contamination is, isn't it?
The majority of it is actually where the maintenance barn is. Where they used to mix.
Johnson Road?
No, so there is contamination there too at the old clubhouse. But right here,
Yeah.
so there's the maintenance barn where they used to mix the chemicals for all the grass.
That's where it is?
That's the majority of it, or
So
the
you're
best part.
you're not taking care of that?
Not taking care of that, but we are gonna take care of whatever needs to be done, because there is some at the existing clubhouse. And then obviously, there's just one little spot that we know of on our 60 acres that we're taking.
Tell me how the age restriction works.
Yeah, so it's written into the deed. Obviously, it's not only in the purchase of this land, it's written in our contract that I can't do anything other than a 55 and older community, but it's written into the deed of the actual property. So 55 and older, one member has to be 55, and no kids under the age of 18 can live there for more than, I think it's either 4 or 6 months.
So what's the stops that I buy one of these houses and my grandchildren that I don't have moving in with me?
They couldn't, technically, is that they couldn't. Not only is it regulated by the HOA, but, I mean, again, it's our understanding, and I know there's people who don't believe it, but basically you won't be able to register your child in schools because it's a deed restricted piece of property. So
How is the homeowners association governed?
they will govern themselves. It would be owned by the residents.
So is there any common space that's not owned by particular residents? I assume the
Yeah,
office.
sure. The clubhouse, office, pool, and tennis courts. So basically this area here.
Okay, so what controls are there that the homeowners association will maintain those facilities?
Good question. I'm not sure we're there yet. Obviously, the homeowners, association needs to be constructed and legally, not only their legal responsibility. So I would assume at that time, when it's formed, it would have, what their responsibilities are.
It'll be,
Yeah, in the bylaws.
Reserves. Do you have an estimate on the monthly maintenance, the monthly?
The HOA, yeah, we estimate, for our internal purposes, roughly $325 a month. And again, that's just for our pro forma that we do, internally to make sure that the project actually works.
And what is the range of values on houses?
Yeah, so they'll be starting in the high fours. So, and again, depending on the customizable features, you can get up over 5.
And how big are they?
Anywhere between 2,000 and 2,500 square feet. Again, with the 5 different models, some will be smaller, some will be a little bit bigger.
And basements?
Plan for basements, obviously, once we get into the property and do test borings, if some can't have basements, they'll just have crawl spaces.
Oh, all right.
But they're at least intended to have basements.
They're intended to have full basements, correct.
I'm good. Good? Good, Mike?
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Next item on the agenda is the fire chief's report. Unless anybody has anything to say about what we just heard.
It's very preliminary for us. There was no information there for us, really.
Just underground power lines, that's the biggest impact.
This can be all blasting.
Yeah, but remember, there's, we're gonna worry about hydrant locations, and then
With the road.
who maintains the hydrants. So if a hydrant gets hit, a hydrant gets damaged, they're responsible, the homeowners association would be responsible for it.
Yeah, they're gonna own them.
Yeah, so they're gonna own them, they own them since it's on private property.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure somewhere
I think we should
coming
just-
back into the.
it's listed in there.
You
And
just
then
make sure everybody understands that, Tony, Jerry, because.
we haven't been consulted one bit in this whole
No,
thing.
I'm saying, I
No,
think we
this is the
should,
first I even seen it.
I think we should be on record with that at a minimum.
The other thing is turn radiuses. We're gonna need to know what the turn radiuses around some of these things are, because if they're too tight, we're not gonna be able to get the trucks in, especially when we figure if there's cars on both sides.
Well,
we
yeah,
figure out
that's
We
what
gotta
lines
get,
that.
we gotta get the street width, the road width.
Yeah, so we gotta figure all that out. There's a lot going in. It looks like, if I look at this thing, I think the holes are 25 to 30 feet apart. So, that's where we, like on our new engine, we have caps, so we can protect exposures.
That's good, dude. That's what,
We're having gas throughout the whole complex. Our main
25.
gas shut off through that complex. Is it individual? How do we go about it? And then,
There should be one to each house.
right.
You might be able to check with Fieldview Farms and see how they did it, and how much room they have, and how wide their roads are, because they've already done this model.
Yeah. But they're not
Yeah, we can do
detached.
that. Remember, we're all volunteer here. To go out and research all that. That's quite a bit of work on our end.
I don't know, I'm looking at this map, it looks like some tight turns over
They
there.
volunteered to do it.
All
Yeah. Team player here.
right, we do it. Yeah, underground power is good.
Yeah, don't have to worry about the trees taking it.
Well, that's
That's a big plus out here.
So other than traffic, I don't see what the increased impacts really would be on a routine basis.
Generates $1.5 million in tax revenue we don't have now. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, and
You don't have
And
to
no
take
debt.
it.
And that we do
and
have.
$5 million less in debt,
Correct.
so it's or 4.2 million less in debt, so that's.
Yeah, I think it's really preliminary to figure out what else. Me and Joe are gonna both have a lot of questions, but
It's gotta be developed
it's
further
gotta
along
be,
before
yeah,
we
it's
can
gotta
ask
be
anything.
looked at and everything else, and then,
Well, I gotta figure,
really gone through.
compared to single-family houses on the whole property, it's gotta be less impact for us.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know
I don't know.
how many they can put in. All right. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, receive report, apparatus report. We did have an issue with, I think it was engine 3 that had to get fixed. I forgot exactly what it is because we've had a bunch of little things come up and get fixed. But engine 3 is slated, the new truck is slated to come in March of next year, so that's good.
Time flies.
It does. Radio system upgrade, we had a meeting tonight at 5 o'clock with the radio committee. We ordered the second console for the fire department, so that's going to be on order once it goes to the Board of Selectmen meeting, probably November, I think it's November 13th. And also at that time, we're going to be, they're going to approve the going to digital. So with those two things, we're going to start moving forward in November to wrap the project up. To switch over to get the second console, I think it's 6 to 8 weeks, and I think to switch over to digital 6 to 8 weeks. So this project is probably not going to be wrapped up totally until the beginning part of next year. The radio is working really well. We had an issue about a week and a half ago. We lost 2 sites, 2 of the 6 sites, one on Bradley Road and one at RWA up on Rimmon Road. It's the phone line that went down. We're actually actively looking to change out of the T1 line and switch over to the fiber network if it's available at all these locations. So we're researching that to find out, and as soon as we can do that, we'll make the change over to fiber. Engine 9 update. Engine 9 we've been working with, right now it's E1. This is a rendering what the truck could look like. To replace the 1995 E1 now. This truck is a little bit smaller than Engine 9 currently is. It will have a 240 SS AMPKIS system on it. It's going to hold 2,000 gallons of water.
The what, I'm sorry?
A 240 SS, it's a AMPKIS power unit to run the rescue tools. It will also have a foam pro on it where we'll be having Class B foam. So at an active flammable liquid fire, car fire, stuff like that, it's easily put out. We have the same thing on the current Engine 9.
The new phone?
Yeah, the new foam. We're going to be talking about that too. Some of the other features, it's basically mirrors the other truck. This truck's not going to have a light tower on it, so that's going to go away now.
Where the light's gonna be?
There's going to be no light tower on it.
Wait, is
So we
that,
have Rescue 1 that has a light tower.
oh, that's floodlights.
Yeah, it's a tower that goes up in the air.
Oh, okay,
It's got light.
not the emergency.
Not the warning emergency.
Not
no.
that,
Stealth fire
okay.
Yeah. And that's basically where we are now.
The gumball machine.
So this truck has a couple more options we don't need on it, so we're in the process of taking them off and making some other changes. This will have a big block motor in it, most likely a 600 horse Cummins motor on it. And the other one's just another side.
So you'll be able to get up Peck Hill Road.
Yeah, so this truck has a lot of weight, so that's why we would need the big block motor in it. That's basically what we're working on. The spec for this truck is roughly right now, it's somewhere in the area of about 200 pages. So we're looking to take some stuff off, reduce some of the stuff so it works better for the town. So that's the update. We're going to be working with the manufacturer over the next couple of weeks to hopefully finalize this, and we'll talk to possibly another manufacturer and then make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen to get the truck approved.
And is the current thinking to proceed under the Texas?
Right, so we're looking to do the same deal like we did with Engine 3 that we did a little over a year ago by going through the QV Galveston, Houston purchasing agreement.
All right.
The old firehouse, we've been meeting every Tuesday morning at 8:30. It was a small committee. Myself and Joe are on it. There's been a lot of scope change on that project. Did they approve all that tonight, Joe?
Yes.
So there were changes. The Board of Selectmen ratified the changes tonight, and hopefully we'll know more in the morning on which way we're going to move forward. But the project has to be completed by the end of the year for them to be eligible to use that steep grant money they have available to them.
Okay.
Truck or Treat is October 31st, next Thursday night. It starts at probably around, people usually show up about 4:30, 4:45, and fireworks are going to shoot off right around 7:15.
7:15.
Yeah,
That seems early.
no, it's.
Well, I know that we set the clocks back forward or whatever it is this week, right?
I thought it was after. I thought it was in November.
Back till November 3rd.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What do I know? It smells dark out.
Dispatch, if we can leave that to executive session. That's all I have for my report right now.
Okay. Any questions of the chief?
Activity report, the assistant chief couldn't make it tonight, he had to work. So he'll have his report for next month for you guys. Just to go on a little bit, we had a fire last week. It was on Peck Hill Road. When we had the bad wind, we lost a tree. Tree came down, took the service, pulled it away from the house, and caught a couple power strips up on fire. I think there were total, 6 that burned up in that house?
Yeah.
Made some damage to the house, some smoke. Basement was full of smoke from it. So that's why it's important that we get toned out and go to all these tree on wires, even though it's leaning from the pole to the house. And even though the wire's not down, this wire wasn't down, it pulled it enough where it sent the surge through the house and started the house on fire. If the guy wasn't home, he probably would have lost his house in probably the next 5 minutes.
Did you also put water on the house?
We didn't put water on the house. We were able to get it where we limited the damage. He had smoke in the basement, a lot of smoke in the basement. He had some burn marks upstairs on the floor from the surge protectors, his power strips that he
They
had
started
plugged
burning
in.
the hardwood floors in the master bedroom.
So we did have some,
Floor to power strip.
right, so we did have some damage. You could see the burn marks on the floor. They were really evident.
It's pretty impressive. Not in a good way.
Is there any public message? First of all, is there anything we could do to mitigate the risk of the wires getting pulled from a tree outside the house and causing fire?
There's really not. The best thing to do is keep the trees away from your wires the best you can. But if a tree does come down and it's hanging on the wires or it's pulling on the wire, even though the wire's not off the house, it could still send a surge through the house and definitely short out different things like this. Shorted out had a heavy electrical hit where the surge protectors lit up, but we weren't sure whether he lost any appliances at that point or TVs or anything else. So he was told not to even stay there that night until an electrician had time to take a look at the house and have UI come and get the tree off the cable and have the house checked before the power was turned back on.
And is there any technology to prevent a surge from getting into the house once
They
it
have
happens?
whole house surge protectors, but it all depends on the type of surge and the type of surge protector you have that goes on it. It would be more recommended by your electrician than he would recommend if you were interested in something like that.
I have one.
So does it, I'm just wondering.
So
if
it all,
makes-
But I don't know.
it all
I don't
depends
know
on what
what's
it's
gonna-
rated,
can't
it all
tell
depends on what it's rated for
What's gonna
too.
stop.
So if you have a big enough surge, it could go right through it, or it could fry.
That 4.5 service.
could catch that service
Assume
on.
it's big enough to.
And what, do you know what the approximate cost of that is? Is that
I have no idea.
reasonable, affordable?
I don't remember.
And then what can people do in their houses if a surge does come through? Like you said, the power strips, are they dangerous in and of themselves? Are they more prone to cause a fire?
That's probably the weakest point of
Surges?
the electrical system, because it's either plastic or a little piece of metal, that's what's melting.
Well, yeah,
It's
they're-
hot from the wires.
and they're
Melt
tucked
starts a
behind
fire.
people's cabinets and furniture.
Yeah,
and
right.
just-
These in his bedroom were under the bed.
So does it
And the
make?
one in the basement was on a rubber floor.
You know the rubber floor you put down for when the kids were small, the concrete, this burnt right through it, it burned a hole.
So if it was wood
That's what was
underneath,
making all the
if
smoke.
it was wood underneath the house, it probably would have caught.
So-
He possibly fried a computer or two.
So is there any recommendation to put like a metal tray under surge protectors or?
You know, my recommendation is, Karen,
No
don't
surge
use,
protectors.
Don't use power strips?
we never tell anybody to use.
Don't use power strips. I just think people don't know that. I think it might
Wouldn't
be
you blow
helpful.
out a computer or something if you don't use them?
That I don't know.
Well, I think it's better than blowing out the house.
Yeah,
What's that?
well, when the power comes back on, can't you lose your TVs or your computers?
You can, so what they recommend is shutting everything big down, shutting your electronics down, so when the power comes back on, you don't have that heavy surge come through and
Yeah.
possibly blow up your TV or computer.
The electrician should work with the homeowner at that point.
Right.
So on the way over, I'm listening to a news report about a tornado in Dallas.
Yeah.
So people watching from the rooftops, they could see transformers blowing all over
Right.
town.
So it's also important to note that if the wire gets pulled down from your house to the road and your service is ripped off your house, your pipe that goes up your house and out, if that's ripped off, you have to get your own electrician to put it all back together. UI will not do that. UI is only responsible from the weatherhead out.
Right, they'll shut the power off.
Right. UI will shut the power, but you have to get an electrician. So it would make sense if you have an electrician to keep that number handy.
I'm just wondering, do we have an electrician in town that could do like a little, ask the electrician at the library or something?
I wonder
And
if
help
UI
us.
would have somebody that would,
Yeah.
Or just a
that would do that.
flyer?
UI may have somebody.
UI, the other good program, talking about this, not to get off the subject, UI also has a program which is actually really good. I think it costs you $5 or $7 a month, and they'll come out and they put an outlet over by your service where if you lose power and you have a generator, they give you the port to plug the generator into, and it doesn't backfeed everything else. And I think it costs, I want to say it's only $5 or $7 a month
Yeah,
to
somebody said the other
have,
day.
this outlet put in, and you just pay it part of your bill. Because what they don't want you to do is plug your
Backfeed.
generator in and backfeed everything else.
Would that hurt you, or that would just hurt, like other people could lose power or something?
That could hurt the guys on the road, so if power's off, and if we kill power, right, and somebody has a generator, they can backfeed onto the line, and somebody can get hurt that way.
It seems like that people wouldn't be motivated to do that themselves, so maybe it should be a
Be surprised.
zoning requirement. That if you have a generator, do you need a permit to have a whole house generator?
You do, a whole house generator you do.
You need an
But a
inspection.
generator you buy at Home Depot,
Yeah.
Lowe's, or something else, you don't need a permit
That
for
could,
that.
the same thing could
But
happen.
those are the
yeah.
ones we have the problems with. We
Right.
wind up with, they put them too close to the house, the COs
CO
going
goes
into
into
the
the
house.
house.
I know, is if I think about the house fires we've had in the last few years,
We had a house fire during Hurricane Irene, same deal.
significant portion of them have been with wires being pulled off.
Right.
Yeah, Irene, one on Amity Road a couple of years ago, I mean, all,
We had quite a few.
yeah. And I don't think the public thinks about that at all.
Mhm. I just think a little information campaign might be helpful.
We can look into it.
It's on your list, chief.
No,
Sure,
I
Mike.
don't mean to. Put
On
something
top
else
of
on
going
your
around the
list.
development, I'll look at the turn radius.
In orange.
for you.
We'll put on Tina's list in between listening to the, updated.
Hey, we can buy her headphones when she's driving around, she can listen to fire calls.
Actually, if we could get a flyer together and somebody could like make sure it makes sense.
Well,
And
you
give
are
them
gonna
out
do
at
that.
truck or treat.
We have generator safety that goes out on Facebook. It usually goes out about this time of year. We'll look into that this week.
But if you could do something at truck or treat, like give people flyers or something. I'm not trying to give you something to do, I will help.
They're looking for candy, they don't want information, they want
I will help.
candy.
The tree gets a little busy.
They
jump right on that for you,
candy,
Abby,
just
sure.
give them a flyer.
Okay, let's move on, if we're done with the substitute activity report. No, we didn't hear about the Lois Lane burglar alarm, or fire alarm, rather.
No. The commissioner's house.
All right, fire marshal's report.
As you know, October is Fire Prevention Month. We've seen 250 kids so far, and we got about 350 to go. We got rained out a couple of days, we're a little behind. I was out, I did 52 inspections, 7 public education, and 6 consulting things for 65 total inspections. Tomorrow we're going to Beecher, we'll pick up another 200 kids out of that 350, and we have something scheduled for Thursday, and then next week, two days, and we should be in good shape.
So Joe does a lot of the fire prevention, and he takes a couple of the guys with him. Nate is one of them.
Every year Nate's there.
Quite a bit,
Thank
so
you.
Nate deserves thank you. There's quite a bit, he takes time out of his day to go there.
Does he go in uniform?
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thank you, Nate, appreciate that.
Oh, one other thing under my report, hose testing is completed. We had hose testing a week and a half ago.
Do we have to buy a lot of new hose?
We lost a couple hundred feet, so it's not that bad this year. So we're good.
All right. Joe, I see Woodbridge Office Park has 3 violations. We usually don't see 3 on this report, we see 1 or 2.
There's so many offices in there.
Which one's that? Is that the Bradley Road?
1764, Litchfield,
Okay.
the big one, just past where the dog guy is.
The big, the big building. Big
Yeah.
building. Okay. All right. Any other questions for the fire marshal? Moving right along. Next item is executive session. Let's defer that to the end and ask if we have any correspondence. I don't. Next meeting date, November 18th. It's good for me, it's good for you, commissioners.
Yes.
Hopefully our absent members, okay.
6 or 7? 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock?
I would expect to be back to 6.
Okay.
I had a conflict this afternoon, so that's why I would change today. Okay, shall we go into executive session?
Sure.
Okay. The agenda talks about pending claims and security. Do we have any pending claims to discuss?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion to go into executive session with regard to pending claims and security matters.
So moved.
You have to invite who you
Second.
want.
So there's a motion, and I would include the commissioners, the clerk, and the fire marshal.
See ya.
And Mr. Our selectman liaison
Give a
may
standing
stay if he
invitation.
desires, but you don't have to.
Any,
What?
any Martin, I should be aware, of executive session? All right.
Up to you, Joe. I don't think it waives our executive session. If it does, we'll excuse you
Anticipating action afterwards?
See you in the
Can't
morning.
hear you.
Are you anticipating any action afterwards?
I do not expect any action. So if you just want to pack up and go home, that's okay with,
Thank
it's
you.
okay with us.
Thank you.